Okay, time to tackle something that pretty much everyone wants to know. What is the release date for Warlords of Draenor? Well, I'm not a bloody time traveler, so if you're looking for an absolute date, then really you're pretty much boned because no one actually has one. But what we do have is a lot of evidence and the ability to speculate, so let's go and do that. Now then, time for the hard facts. So Warlords of Draenor is currently in its beta testing phase. Now the beta really did start off very slow. I mean, it was like, what, 2 months with hardly any content? But, they are now adding the final 2 zones. They're adding a level 100 pre-made PvE testing server. They've already had the PvP testing server at level 100, fully testing Ashran for a week, and then fully testing PvP for ages. You know, now that they have got all the basics up and running, they are just going full on with the beta. From June to mid-July, we got Frostfire Ridge and Shadowmoon Valley, but now within 2 weeks, we have got Nagrand, the Spires of Iraq, Talador, Gorgrond, level 100 testing for PvE, we've got Heroic Dungeons, we've got things like Skyreach and Auchindoun. Guys, stuff is going mental with the beta. I mean, it's at the stage where it's really hard for us to cover it on the YouTube front because there is just so much going on. So, that's definitely a good thing, right? You know, basically, the testing is really ramping up and getting fast. Based on this speed, I think we are certainly going to be able to end the beta by the end of August, push out patch 6.0 in the start of September, and then launch Warlords of Draenor into the wild in and around, let's just say, the 23rd of September, just like Mists of Pandaria. I suppose the most likely scenario that's maybe later than that would perhaps be maybe the first bit of October, and the reason why I'd say that is because the raid testing for Mists of Pandaria started on the 22nd of June, whereas it only really started a month later for Warlords of Draenor, and the beta has been pretty damn snappy so far with Warlords. So I think they could certainly make it for September, but it's definitely possible that it might slip into October a little bit. Now, some people have also said that the reason why it can't be in September is because they'd still need to PTR the pre-patch for Warlords. While that's potentially true, you need to bear in mind that Siege of Orgrimmar has already been tested with the new Warlords of Draenor system, and really, you know, the beta restricted to level 90 essentially is the pre-patch. And I think all they really are going to need to do is fix up the starting experience, which I'd imagine they've already been working on and they're probably saving up for some sort of surprise. Now, we haven't really heard a date from Blizzard, right? And what we do know is the dates are usually talked about at some sort of major event, you know, somewhere where the press are looking and they can get a lot of, you know, coverage and hype. Well, the next major event is Gamescom in mid-August. And while it really is a big event, I don't think we're going to get a date there, because look, they'll still be in heavy beta testing. You know, Celestalon could break Warlocks, and then Bashiok could just run into the server and blow the whole feckin' building up, and that would cause a mild delay. They don't want to have that risk. So I'd say that what's going to happen in Gamescom is we're going to get the full-on cinematic trailer, which would basically just signify the start of Activision Blizzard's massive marketing push with the game. And by the way, these cinematics get everywhere. There's like TV spots. I remember once when I was in the cinema, I saw the Pandaria thing. Now, I think that this expansion is relying on being really badass, being really Warcraft-ish, and sort of speaking to a lot of those themes that a lot of people just think, yeah, that's cool. Now, this kind of thing, I'd say, will do well in terms of marketing, unlike Mists of Pandaria. The Mists of Pandaria thing really just missed the point of marketing to the World of Warcraft fanbase, really, or at least the sort of people that would be likely to play Warcraft. You know, while I don't agree that Pandaria is just lol Kung Fu Pandas, it kind of came off that way in the cinema spots and things like that, and it would have really just not sold to the people who actually like the idea of playing World of Warcraft. However, I think the Warlords of Draenor thing, based on the themes of the expansion and the story that I've played throughout the beta, I'd say it's going to do very well in terms of marketing. Okay, so enough of cinematic randomness, let's talk about BlizzCon. So I think that they need to release the game before BlizzCon, actually. Now, I'd say that BlizzCon this year will be used to push Heroes of the Storm into full release, do some sort of Warcraft movie thing, and then also cover the next StarCraft 2 expansion. Now, Blizzard did say that they at some point wanted to do yearly expansions for World of Warcraft, as indicated by a number of patch 5.4 interviews with the developers, but I honestly cannot see that happening, at least for the next expansion. I think it might be a year and a half rather than the 2 years that we're currently used to. So instead of that, I think we're going to see a preview of the next interim 5.1 style patch, and then perhaps maybe a peek at the new tier, or maybe that new Farallon zone, which would of course become Netherstorm later on in time. Anyway, so a post-BlizzCon release of Warlords of Draenor would just royally mess things up. And sure, a holiday release would have been great for maybe me a few years ago, but I think that with WoW's aging population, a holiday release may not be the best thing, especially when the game is largely centered around social groups of players doing things like raiding and PvPing and things like that. If someone's got to go off and do family stuff, it just, kills raiding for 2 weeks, it kills your organized PvP, and it's just a little bit awkward. Now, of course, this wouldn't be too bad for the solo people, but still, I think that a December release would kind of suck, and from what I've seen in the comments of my videos, most of the people who comment actually agree. Now, if they do release before BlizzCon, then they will have the massive hype from for the expansion due to all the marketing, the Gamescom trailer, of course just the cinematic itself, and all that jazz. So the expansion would do fine, but then BlizzCon would serve to maintain interest and drive up player retention if Blizzard used BlizzCon to show people the cool stuff that they have in store for upcoming patches, which should be pretty cool. Now, another positive thing about this is that it would basically miss out on the November AAA launch window. That's when you've got, like every game under the sun, competing for your time. Now, an MMO is a very time-intensive game, and I don't think they really want to have that whole conflict of interest going on there for players, where it's like, oh, do I play Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty? No. Or World of Warcraft or whatever? What to do? No. Just have Warcraft out in September so people are already playing that, they're already putting their time into Warcraft, and this whole idea of the AAA launch window actually hurting your game just goes away. Plus, I don't think the AAA launch window is an ultra-major problem because, well, honestly, a lot of Warcraft players are certainly mono gamers. They like their Warcraft, maybe their other MMOs, but they're not particularly interested in the Call of Duties or things like that. And that's fair enough, I sort of fit into that bracket with my lack of interest in the ultra-big AAAs. So I do think that September is definitely better than kind of November for this. Now, another point is that the World of Warcraft player base generally is not kind of waiting for money from their interchangeable winter solstice holiday. And that's a good thing because, like a lot of these big AAAs, one of the reasons they come out in November is because they want, they want it so that, players' parents can buy it for them for Christmas or whatever. Of course, that's not really needed as much for Warcraft because it does have an older population, and I can even say that, just looking at my own video analytics. So there's not much of a reason to just sort of, dogpile World of Warcraft into the big November thing. And I don't think that any sort of benefit of a post-BlizzCon, i.e. November release or December, I just don't think any aspect of that is more positive than September, and based on the current beta testing schedule, I think the game's going to be ready for the end of September. I mean, the progress that we are seeing in the beta right now is it's really fast. They've, just in this last 2 weeks, they have been pouring in the content, they've been fixing up a lot of bugs and a lot of systems. Now, they have had major stability issues and things like that, but that's because, new file system, a lot of new features. But the good thing is that all of these are basically, all these problems are happening now, and they've got a whole bunch of fixes planned, they've been talking about them, so I'd say December the 23rd is going to be your date, and that's basically my feelings on the issue. So, what do you think about the release date? I'd kind of like to know, so leave that down in the video comments. Be sure to like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, and of course you can subscribe to the channel for lots more Warlords of Draenor content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.